to Epic Geek Out, the only show on the internet that prefers their martinis stirred, not shaken. Well, screw it, just give us beer. I'm your host, Rob.
And I'm your host, Chad, and we have a big week for you. Today we're talking about the new Bond movie, Skyfall.
And on Thursday, we're going to be giving our review of Halo 4.
As always, you can check us out over at Twitter, at Epic Geek Out. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/epicgeekout. And also check out the website, www.epicgeekout.com. Let's get into our review of Skyfall. So Skyfall is the third Bond movie starring Daniel Craig. Also stars Judi Dench, Javier Bardem, Ben Whishaw, I believe. Am I saying that correctly?
I'm not sure.
The Q, and also from Cloud Atlas,
gotcha,
and
yes.
I believe I'm saying it correctly. Maybe not. So basically, it is the third iteration as with Daniel Craig as James Bond. And it is kind of the story, you know, there's a mission in the beginning, great chase scene, things like that. You know, Bond kind of falls and has to get back into the game throughout the movie. It's a very, I feel, different movie than the first two, than Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. Kind of getting back into there's that villain, you know, that one single villain that, you know, is very reminiscent of old Bond villains, very unique, very ridiculous character set up by Javier Bardem. And it's a new Bond movie. You know, we're filming this on Monday. We know that it broke all the records for Bond's opening weekends, and really was, you know, beautifully shot. Well, Chad, what do you think of the movie?
Yeah, and Batman too, right? Didn't it say Batman broke a Batman record or something? Crazy.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I am a Bond fan, but not a Bond connoisseur, I guess is the best way to put it. I've not seen every single Bond movie. I grew up with the Pierce Brosnan era. And, you know, I really enjoyed Casino Royale.
GoldenEye was one of the best games ever made.
Really enjoyed Casino Royale. The Quantum of Solace did not like as much. Didn't really, was kind of like a little bit boring-ish for me. And the storyline of that kind of carried over from Casino Royale. So I appreciate that this was a fresh start. And it was a really good movie. But this is what I'm saying to everybody. It was a really good movie. Didn't feel like it was a good Bond movie. Because for me, it didn't have enough Bond in it. It really, the story was very personal to M, which I really enjoyed. But it, like, Bond seemed at times to be kind of like a side character. I mean, it did focus on him getting back into the game, as you said, which at times got taxing for me because, you know, we had two movies of set up making him Bond, and then it kind of regresses back to he needs to retrain up his abilities.
Well, and let me also say the one thing that really should be mentioned about this movie is it plays off of the old versus new thing throughout the movie. You know, is Bond too old to be in the game? Is there even a need for spies anymore? You know, and it really plays off of the old versus new. I mean, I think that's the major theme, if I had to pick one, throughout the movie.
And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the toss-outs to the other Bond movies, like the pen and the car and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool fan service. And I was happy that I understood those jokes. I'm sure that there's probably something I missed that I didn't get. But, yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig is awesome as Bond. I love him as Bond so much. And he is in it, but just I didn't feel like enough to kind of warrant that, like, over-the-top Bond movie for me. Because it's always about Bond chasing the villain. And in this, I feel like he's kind of chasing M, who's chasing the villain, or, you know, kind of like M's personal story with this villain. Which they did that really well, and I think the movie is really well done. A lot of cool action sequences in it, and I had a fun ride, fun time. But if I'm analyzing it as just a movie, I thought it was great. If I'm analyzing it as a Bond movie, just felt a little low on the Bond for me. But there's still plenty of Bond in there for, I'm sure, a lot of you guys, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So.
Now, I'm going to agree with you that it was a great movie. I'm going to disagree with you. I felt that this was a true-to-form Bond movie through and through, hands down. It brought Bond back into, you have that villain, and you know there were singular villains in the other movies, but you know he blew it out of the park. Blew it out of the park.
Like, Bond part of his villain, like the cool twist to his villainy was awesome.
Yeah, there is so many cool moments between just the two, even just talking. Then there were so many Bond moments that you did not get in Casino Royale or Quantum of Solace that I was like, that's fantastic. So we're introduced to a new Q. their conversation right off the bat was great. It set up their relationship, and it kind of seemed like they would have a taxing relationship in the beginning, but they accepted each other, moved on, had a couple great jokes of, what were you expecting, an exploding pen? We don't do that anymore. Oh, you gave me a gun and a radio? And just these moments were so great. And then there were moments, and there were callbacks from like Bond movies of old with, I don't want to ruin any, but I felt it was such a Bond movie. There was not, Casino Royale, he kind of fell in love with the girl. That's kind of out of the James Bond-esque-ness. In this, he doesn't fall in love with, there are two girls, there are two female characters, and it doesn't fall in love with either of them, but he has his very Bond moments with them, and kind of like, there was like,
right.
I guess it's a minor spoiler, so, skip ahead 10 seconds, but, there's the girl who's bad, he's trying to save, and, things happen to her, like, very, like, just old school Bond feeling. I felt this, harken back to the Connery days of, it just followed the progression that I expect of a Bond movie, but updated it with just amazing cinematography, lighting, and just, it was shot gorgeous. I mean, this was one of the better shot movies I think we've seen of the year.
Yeah.
And to say, that to have it be in a Bond movie is like, wow, really? I mean, like, you guys are doing that for, a Bond movie? It's awesome.
Right.
So it had so many cool callbacks to the days of old, and to have that theme of old versus new in it, I thought was crazy, and it was so well done. And Sam Mendes, who directed it, did a great job of adding in things of fan service, but not making it too taxing that that it would remove you from the movie. So I really appreciated all those aspects, and I just think it just hit the stride so well.
I think just thinking about it more as you're talking, for me, I guess what I mean by it didn't feel Bond for me is that every other Bond movie, I feel like I am put in his shoes on a journey with him for the whole movie. Whereas this one, the beginning portion of the movie, like you think he's dead, but like you're following M around for a little bit, which is cool. But I didn't feel like it was a through line of his story. Like I felt like it veered off into other stories, which were great. But for me, Bond movies, I want to be strapped in with him the whole time, figuring stuff out with him, going on. So that's kind of, I think, what I mean more so.
And M was
like the call-outs were there. Like it felt Bond in that regard, the gadgets and all that. But the storyline itself, I think, is where.
And like the villain, he was out for M. I mean, he had a lot of power, but he had an axe to grind and a vendetta against her. So that was why she was specifically in the movie.
Right.
Whereas other villains might have been trying to. Melt the world with the sun, or whatever stupid one that movie was.
Yeah.
So like, they made it personal enough with the character that you knew. So I see I completely understand how you feel. But if it wasn't that story with M, it would have been
and I like that. I like that a lot more than the last movie, which was very much what you're talking about.
Worldwide, opposed to localized.
Definitely worldwide storyline. And I didn't like that as much because it was boring and it was just it didn't feel like there were any stakes. And
this movie was just a great commentary on like our current day, the way they used YouTube in it, and just the way they juxtaposed just modern day to the old. I think they did that all really well, especially for a Bond movie, which you can pass a lower grade movie off, I think, than they have in the past. Moonraker, I'm looking at you, for like, just because they have those characters. And, it's in the commercial, but when the back of the train's getting ripped off and he jumps down and just fixes his cuff and keeps on moving, that's the coolest moment I've ever seen in film. That is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I think overall I liked it a lot. I'm taking the two review sides of it. I'm taking the normal side and the Bond side. I think it's a must see. I mean, it's
definitely must see. I mean,
because there's not a lot, like all the summer movies are kind of dumb, but it's definitely got that action feel of a summer movie. So
definitely get out and check out Skyfall. And it's that time of the episode where we like to give our Geek Thanks of the day. Chad, what are you thankful for today?
Well, there's some big news that has come out, been talked ad nauseum at this point, but we were away for a week, so we kind of didn't get to commentate on it. Star Wars has been purchased by Disney.
What?
Episode 7 is coming out.
What?
In 2014.
I thought it was 15, but
2015?
Yeah.
2015, yeah.
Soon.
14 would be very soon.
Yeah.
But really awesome. They have announced since that Toy Story 3 writer is going to be writing it, which
I'm impressed by.
if you've seen our show, Rob
Yeah.
loves, I love as well.
Great
but
movie.
Great movie. So really excited about that. I hope that they take the franchise in a great direction. I'm excited for the newness of it. It's not a story we've heard before like the prequels. So I think there's a lot of good stuff to come for this.
And
they do what they did, half of what they did with Marvel, I think we're...
Yeah, and you know, great job, George Lucas, for donating the $4 billion that he's receiving.
It almost makes the
which
prequels
is
not
like,
hurt as much.
Yeah, I mean, I can
Almost.
forgive him for Jar Jar at this point. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's just ridiculous. I mean, I can't
awesome.
imagine.
I think he's like actually donating 5-point-something billion total.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
So I mean, really,
yeah.
congratulations on that. And even like, you know, just talking about Star Wars, the repercussions of this are crazy with Skywalker Sound, right? Is that the name?
Yeah, Skywalker Sound, ILM, everything.
Crazy amount of.
We'll be talking a lot
You know,
about it, I'm sure.
I mean, it's a huge news. So is
Yeah.
that your thanks?
That's my thanks.
Yeah, I mean that's a
Episode
very
7.
good thanks. But I am thankful for a bunch of our friends. We just got back from a trip to the city of New Orleans, and it is one of the most pleasant towns and great places I've visited. It's so unique to travel in from the United States. It's really very different than other areas I've been to. The people were fantastically nice. You know, you can see Chad actually got this shirt down there, so
I did,
you know,
it's hardest.
geeks do represent down there. You got to find the stores, but you know they do definitely represent down there. I'd say definitely check it out. You know, we were there for an Eagles game. We got crushed, but still had a fantastic, amazing time. You know, super. You know, the food is just truly amazing. Also, a little. Well, you know, I'll save this thanks for my second one.
All right, so
one of the things we did. So yeah, so you know, definitely if you get the opportunity, you know, go experience New Orleans, do Bourbon Street, but then do like the historical stuff as well, I'd say.
Cool. So come back on Thursday to find out what the other part of his thanks is. We're also going to be talking about Halo 4, which is a huge game. Huge game. So come back for that. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.